Hi everyone, it's Deborah Vavoda Hamilton and I'm here to welcome you to my monthly MAP program, Navigating the Journey Your Pets Take When You Can't Care for It. I am so grateful that all of you have come here this time to take a minute and recognize the importance of navigating the journey your pet takes when you can't care for it. Some of you have been on this recording before, and I'm so glad you're here again. This presentation is 30 minutes, and I keep it to 30 minutes because everybody's time is very valuable, but it'll be the best 30 minutes you've ever spent. And I don't say that lightly because we don't spend as much time putting forth a plan for the care of our pets as we do buying a refrigerator or a washer dryer or a dishwasher. We'll spend hours on the internet looking at reviews, looking at prices, looking at where to get it delivered. But when it comes to the care of our pets who we love so much, be it a dog, a cat, a parrot, a horse, a donkey, chickens, pigs, and I'm guilty of it, we make plans over a glass of wine with our friends or our family. We trust that our family knows exactly what we want to do because we've told them over and over again. And I'm here to tell you that up until 2013, I believed the same thing. To give you a little background, I am an attorney who now mediates conflicts between people over animals. That's all I do. So in divorce, landlord-tenant, breeder-owner-handler contracts, disputes between horse owners, disputes between neighbors, you name it. I've brought mediation to that platform because litigation really doesn't work. You have to wave to your neighbor, and living in disharmony doesn't really serve you. So I decided litigation really didn't work for me anymore, even though it's what I did for 25 years. But now I mediate conflicts between people over animals, and it's been pretty helpful. I also wrote a book that you can find on my website, Nipped in the Bud, Not in the Butt, How to Use Mediation to Resolve Conflicts Over Animals. But as I was navigating my mediation practice, I own show Irish setters and standard long-haired dachshunds. None of them are here right now because they would be taking over the back of the screen because they come to work with me. But rest assured that I thought I had all my plans in place because maybe like you, I've told my kids what I want to have done with my dogs. I've told my husband. I told all my friends who I show with, and they've told me what they want to do with their dogs. And so, everything was in place. What do I have to worry about? Then in 2013, I was out looking for my wild child, Roxanne, who had somehow found a way to get out of our fence during a fresh snow. And in my brilliance, even though I believe in angels, my angels were downloading, don't go, don't go, don't go, I went to look where she got out because it was fresh snow. I could see, right? P.S. I tripped and fell over a branch in the snow, probably about 300 yards from my home, which meant that it was slippery on my walk out in the fresh snow. And it was even more slippery when I walked back with a broken ankle in the fresh snow. And as I, was at the doctor's, I called my cleaning lady and I said, could you go over and just, let the dogs out, bring the dogs in because I'm at the hospital having my ankle fixed and I'm, not able to take care of them. And she said, sure, she would do that. So everything was in place, right? Well, not so much because I realized that I didn't have any directions for her other than, let the dogs in, let the dogs out. She really didn't know who to let out with whom. And some of my boys didn't get along at the time, and some of my girls didn't get along at the time, so I had no directives on who to let out, when to let out, how to let out. Didn't have any directions on how to feed. They were sort of up on the wall. I prided myself with having them up on the wall, but they weren't very clear, and they were old. There were dogs up there that I didn't have anymore, who had passed, gone over the Rainbow Bridge. So as I sat with my broken ankle in 2013, I realized I likely was not the only person who believed that God would provide manna from heaven if something happened to me to take care of my animals. And that did not occur. I had to scramble. I had to make lists. I had to try to find people who I didn't even know how they took care of pets to take care of my pets, because my son was going back to school. My husband worked from 7 in the morning till sometimes 9 at night. And all my dogs and all of their food and everything having to do with them was down the basement. And I had a broken ankle going up and downstairs. Not easy with crutches. I'm just sharing that with you in the event any of you have had that issue. And you might, let us know in the column by the side if that's ever befallen you or befallen a friend of yours where they really found themselves unable to take care of their pets. And so I decided I'm going to write a program. What am I going to call it? Well, at the beginning, a lot of people love this title, I'm Not Dead Yet, because I realized that all of the plans I had made were in my will. But since I only broke my ankle, I didn't kill myself. None of those plans come to fruition. So if anyone on this webinar has all of their plans in their will, would they just say, me too, me too, me too, in the side chat box? Because I'd like to know who at least has a plan. So go down at the bottom where it says chat, hit chat and say, I have it in my will, I have it in my will. If you don't have it in your will, don't say anything, and then I'll say, okay, so I'm so glad you're here. Because if it's not in your will, or you don't have a will, I'm hoping this webinar will tickle you under your armpits, wherever you're ticklish, on your waist, to do it, to make a plan, because they're counting on you. I recently, today, as a matter of fact, thanks, Lynette, I've been in enough of your calls that I've advanced directives. Yay! Thank you, Lynette. Still need to set up the trust, but the instructions are there and published. Oh, Lynette, I have such thrills going down my back. That's why I do this for 30 minutes every month, so that at least one of you, maybe two, will take that step and make that plan. Because if it's not in writing, if it's just something you talk to somebody about, I need to tell you it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen the way you want it. It may happen. It may sort of kind of happen the way you want it to, but you will be in a position where you're injured or you're sick or something, and it's not going to happen the way you had hoped. And some of us say, well, that's better than, hey, welcome, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. So we've just started. You haven't missed much, except for the fact that one of my repeat attenders has made part of her plan and is working toward putting together the trust. So to recap, if you have all your plans in your will, I just need you to know you have to die in order for those plans to come to fruition. And if your attorney has told you that you're all set, just go back and ask them if you have a stroke, you break your leg, you suffer from Alzheimer's, so you're not dead yet, will your plan come to fruition? Will all the plans and all the people you've appointed be able to be paid, be told, whatever, what they need to do? If not, then take some notes today so you can go back to them. And I'll give you a way where you might deep dive into it, because I have to tell you, I have a great group going in the Blueprint program that happens over about a 6 or 8 week period, depending on vacations and holidays and things like that, where I sit with you for an hour and talk about every single one of the pieces, the M, the A, and the P. And if you'd like to join us, I'll tell you how to do that at the end. But for now, I'm going to tell you what MAP stands for. So to speed up, rewind a little bit and speed up, I broke my ankle. Reason I drew the MAP plan up, which was originally entitled I'm Not Dead Yet, but then I realized that was sort of creepy. And I wanted to really speak about navigating the journey your pets take. And so I was able to build the program around the letters M-A-A-P, because it is about making a plan, addressing the needs of all of your pets, appointing caregivers, and the key to that is redundancy. and publishing the plan you make. Because without publishing it, you might as well not bother making it. And then at the end of the Blueprint program, we also do S, which is schedule a review. Because whoever you appoint, you need to check with every 6 months to a year to make sure they can still take your pet. So let's start today with just talking about making a plan. Now, most of you probably have a plan in your mind, and you've talked about it with your family, or maybe if you have horses, you've talked about it with your barn mates, or if you have parrots, you might have a parrot group that you've talked to. Well, this is what we're going to do, or you might know Parrot Rescue, and you've already put something together. But if it's not in writing, what you want won't happen. And it's all about making sure that you set forth the steps you want to happen if something happens to you. And I make this strong plea because it's ironic when you look at television now, every cancer commercial has a dog in it. So the new Lasta commercial, the Lexanor, I think it's called, commercial, the one with the long gray hair who teaches and is, recovering or fighting stage 3 breast cancer, all of them have dogs in it. And everybody wants to stay home. And when they stay home, they may have a family member there, but they always have their pet there. And if you're ill, as I don't know how many of you might have suffered from the flu this past few weeks, but if you can't get out of bed because you are sicker than a dog, no pun intended, this plan gives you the ability to pick up the phone or to set up with someone to come over and help you care for your pet when you can't, short term or long term. It's interesting, I had a friend call me today right before this program and say, I've just taken 4 dogs from a colleague of mine because she is going through a really rough time. And we found that the dogs were self-feeding as opposed to being fed. And as opposed to an experience I had where they were self-feeding and there was nothing to eat, these dogs were self-feeding and there was a lot to eat. But she just couldn't. She was suffering from depression and all sorts of different issues because of things that were happening in her life. And so my friend was good. She went in, she took the dogs. But this woman didn't give her any directives, didn't tell her about the dogs at all. She doesn't know anything about the dogs. She just was a good Samaritan. And that's usually how we make our plans. The good Samaritans are going to come out and they're going to help us take care of our pets. And quite frankly, that is the most wonderful thing in the world. However, if you have more than one dog, or you have a horse, 1,500 pounds of wonderful love and hugging, not easy to find a caregiver. At the time I broke my ankle, I had 9 dogs. So, I'm crazy. It's certifiable. I'm okay with that. But I had 9 dogs at the time I broke my ankle. And it's not easy caring for 9 dogs for 8 weeks while I recuperated. And that's why this plan was discovered. Now, I don't know what kind of animals you guys have. I would love for you to mark in the chat box. I have horses, I have dogs, I have birds, because all of them live for a significant amount of time. Dogs and cats, not as much as horses and birds. The parrots can live 60 years. 5 dogs and a kitty. Good girl, Lynette. Anybody else want to pipe in there? I promise I won't embarrass you. But Justin, maybe you could tell me what you have, and Karen and Ariel and Tim. If you could tell me what you have, that'd be great, because I want to focus this discussion on what it is you might want to make a plan for. So if all of you have dogs, raise your hand. If you don't have dogs, if you have horses, raise your hand. If you have birds, raise your hand. Or I'll just basically give you the generic 2 dogs, 2 cats, and a dart frog. I love that, Ariel. God, that is something you're definitely going to have to make a plan, because I don't know how long dart frogs live. I hope they live a really long time, but they definitely need a specific kind of care, I would think. So that would be something that making a plan that addresses the needs of that pet is really important. Karen, you have 3 cats. Don't I love cats? I have a grandkitty. I want you to know her name is Lady Jane, and she's a gray and white rescue cat. So I have a grandbaby who's a cat. and temp one dog, good for you. So that might be the easiest of all because you have one dog, and maybe you have family members who will take care of the dog. But when I broke my ankle, I realized my family members were not the people who were the best to take care of my pets. And it wasn't because they didn't want to. As I think I said at the beginning, my son had to go back to school. And if I didn't, I apologize. He had to go back to school because I broke it in January. My husband works from 7 in the morning till 9 at night. So although he would love to take care of my pets, he wasn't even here. I had to find caregiving for my pets for the day, for the whole day. So you do too. You really need to make sure your pets are cared for every single day. And I always speak on this, and hopefully Lynette will bear this out. You need redundancy in that care. So some of the people might be your family members. They might be the first line of defense that will take care of your pets, but then you need to give them a break. I had someone who attended one of my big seminar weekends where we sat down and wrote the MAP plan in 2 days, 2 8-hour days. It was phenomenal. We had such a great time, and everybody walked out with their MAP plan done. But you really need to make sure that you recognize not only is it a plan that covers you when you're sick, it also has to cover you when another family member is sick, because you might want to take care of your family member. And the reason you want to give your family members a break is because they want to take care of you. And as I just said, one of my attendees told me there's a third reason. So the first reason is you want to make sure that there's somebody who can take care of the pets when your family wants to take care of you because you're sick. You want to make sure there's somebody there to take care of your pets because a member of your family is sick and you want to be with them. And the third one is you want to have your family be guilt-free if, in fact, they can't take care of the pet they promised to take care of. So my MAP plan says my son Drew, my son Thomas, my husband are the first to take care of my dogs. But if they can't, then I have Melanie. She's my backup. Then I have Lindsay. She's my backup to my backup. Then I have the Irish Setter Club of America and the Dachshund Club of America as my backup. I also have my dog caregiver who's here every day, or when I'm away, when I'm on vacation, when I'm traveling for business. I have that person who's right here. Lindsay and Mel are my backup people if something long-term happens to me, something that I need more than just 3 or 4 days in a row, which, is not so bad. Do you have that? Do you have those people? Are they committed in writing? So the MAP plan stands for make a plan, address the needs of your pets, because unless you take it out of here and write it down, people aren't going to know how to take care of your pets the way you want them to be taken care of. Now, a lot of us say, listen, if you know how to take care of a dog, you know how to take care of a dog, it's okay. That's great. But if your dog needs special care, especially my friend with the dart frog, you've got to leave them a roadmap. That's why it's the MAP, a roadmap. Give me a roadmap on how to take care of the pets I love. Also, you want to be able to appoint people who know what they've taken on, have agreed to take on what they've taken on, and have this piece of paper with them. So you've already given it to them. They don't have to go look for it. It's already there. You have one also, available in your house, but it's there. And you want to publish it with them so that they know what you're expecting them to do when they step into your shoes because you've broken your leg. Now, in the MAP program blueprint that I give I started, it's like a revolving program. So it's not like, oh my God, I didn't start with the M, I'm not going to be able to do this. No, it's a revolving program. Each part stands on its own. So if you want to join us, it's really simple. You'll get an email after this seminar that'll say, listen, if you want to take this further, if you really want to get this done, which is the program that you then take to your attorney to say, plug this word, the MAP program, into my will, into my pet trust, so that people know that I've made a plan and they need to look for it. Hopefully you've published it so that they don't need to look for it. But they know that this MAP plan outlines what it is you want done with your pets. The program costs $267. You talk to me for an hour for 6 weeks. I mean, right there, that time alone answers all of your questions. You get templates, you get books, an ebook that outlines everything. You get more information that just is plug and play so that you can fill this out and be done with it. And if you have any questions, I'm here for an hour or more, depending on how many questions we have. Sometimes I'm there for 90 minutes because people have so many questions that they, are afraid of or that they don't know how to answer. I just stay until all the questions are answered, because to me, it's really important that everybody makes this and gets it done. What is, the comedians who are funny, my sons look at them all the time. I forget his name, but he says, get her done. Well, that's what this is. If you sign up for the Blueprint program for $267 in a single payment, you get her done. If that's too much to, dump down, then it's $97 3 times. So if you pay for it in full, it's a savings of $24. But even so, $97 3 times, it's a no-brainer. You'll never get this kind of information anywhere else because nobody else is doing this. Nobody else is helping you make that plan that treats your pets the way you want them treated. Now, we reality test everything you want to do because it's important that whatever you put in your program can be done. So that's why when you're making your program, you're addressing the needs of your pet, you're appointing caregivers, and you're publishing, you get to reality test everything you want to do so that everyone knows what they're supposed to do, and you have the peace of mind that your pet's going to be taken care of. So going back to my friend Mel, if this woman who is going through a difficult time right now had a MAP plan, and Mel was one of her caregivers who had been appointed, she would have already had the document in hand that says all 9 of these dogs, because she rescued 9 dogs. I mean, it's like my house. And she rescued 9 dogs. It wasn't really a rescue. It was a, let me take them while you're dealing with this, really difficult situation in your life. And we'll get them back. But this way, she would have had directions. Okay, so this dog eats this much, that dog eats that much. Everything would have been right there. There would have been no, because when you're upset or when you're sick, you can't really think about it. And think about what happens that might require you to have the MAP plan come to fruition. So it isn't all about dying. That's only one of the 6 Ds. The 6 Ds cover death, yes, but divorce, because unfortunately your pet does not hate your ex, and so maybe sharing the pet with your ex if something happens to you is something you want to keep in your back pocket. Disability, so that would be the broken arm, broken leg thing. Disease, that would be cancer, Alzheimer's. I mean, we don't have a crystal ball. Do you know you're going to do that? Disaster, so fire, flood, earthquake, mudslide. Don't call your neighbor to take your pet when the wind shifts and the fire is coming toward your house. You've got to make these plans before. I mean, look at the horses in the racetrack. Now, that fire started in a minute and spread really quickly, and it wasn't like they ignored it, but they didn't have a plan either. And a friend of mine, Joe Belasco, who I love, says, well, you really can't plan. The best thing you can do is just let them go. Well, they didn't even have a good plan on letting them go. So even the minimalist needs to make a plan on what to do if you have a barn full of horses. What do you do? I mean, for me, when I leave my home, all my dogs are in kennels in the basement with a bunch of steps down there that I have trained my firemen in my neighborhood to go get them out. It's a drill. It's something that's really worth it to you to get your pets out. And we talk about this in the Blueprint program over and over and over again because it is something that we don't think about. We don't really think about it as importantly as we must, because otherwise our dogs might end up in shelters. And especially those of you who might have dogs that you have already rescued from a shelter, or if you have those breed-specific breeds who have like 0 chance of surviving if they end up in a shelter, or if their owner surrendered. Did you know that in a shelter, owner-surrendered dogs have 24 hours to be adopted? It's better for you to tie the dog to a doorknob or say you found it walking in the street than to say, this is my dog and I'm dropping it off, because then it gets 72 hours to be adopted in most states. Look at your state's rules and regulations regarding owner surrendered, especially in a kill shelter, owner surrendered or, stray, because it really is important. Now, I hope I haven't overwhelmed you with the information, but this is something that I'm so passionate about. And I would love for all of you to take the time to make a plan, address the needs of all your pets, appoint caregivers, at least 3, and only 1 can be your family member because they're going to want to take care of you. And make sure everyone who is your appointed caregiver has a copy. So that's publish it. Publish it with your attorney and your vet as well. Did you know that your vet isn't really allowed to take care of your pet if it's brought in by somebody who's not you, unless their name is on your file? Did you know that? These are the kind of things we cover in the MAP Blueprint program because there's so much to know. I share different ways to have tags. There's a tag that's a QR code that gives the person who finds your dog all the information about the dog plus 2 or 3 people who they can call if they can't get you. How wonderful is that? But these are the things that we go into, we delve into, we answer the questions that you have. And believe me, if any of you have horses, which I hope some of the people who are on have horses or some of the people who are going to listen who've signed up for the program and going to get this recording have horses, they need us. There is no rescue shelter that is automatic for horses. Horses have a really serious fate if, in fact, you don't make a plan. Now, I just was part of a discussion on Facebook, and most of the people ask, what do you do with your old horses? What do you do with your old horses? And I have to tell you, 98% of the people said, I never place a horse that I no longer can ride, that I no longer can, care for. I've committed to that horse for life. So maybe I can't ride him after he's 25 or 30, but he might live to be 40. That's 10 to 15 years. But I've committed to him, and when I can't care for him any longer, I don't look for somebody else to take on this older horse that, just should stand out in the weeds. I put him to sleep. And that is one viable way of caring for that pet to make sure he's safe. Because believe me, the alternatives that happen are not necessarily the nicest. And unless you're on top of the people who adopt your animals after you can't take care of them any longer, especially horses, they can end up in dire straits. A lot of them do. So that's why I beg you to consider joining me. It's only $267 if you pay it in full. It's $97 if you pay it in 3 installments. But you get the time, you set aside the time to make this plan. And then, as a bonus, you get to be part of it for the rest of your life. You get the notices every 6 months, every year to come back on, to get the cheerleading squad going for you to review it and make sure everybody's still in place. Because your pets really, really, really depend on you to take care of them, to make this plan, to write down everything that's really special in particular about this beloved pet. Identify the people who you want taking care of it, because if you don't, people are going to take care of your pets in a way that suits them and not that suits you. If you would, as an example, if you would want to put your pet through everything you could to save it if it was diagnosed with cancer, but the person who takes your dog because you haven't made a plan says, you know what, it's too expensive, don't want to do that, put it to sleep. Now, that's a reality test, so maybe you can't ask someone to do something, but at least you could explore it with the person and say, what would you do if my pet had cancer? I'm so grateful that all of you have stayed. I'm so grateful you're all here. I would love to see if there are any questions that you wanted me to answer here that I haven't answered. I see that Ariel posted to me, you're absolutely right. If you pick up a horse, you keep it forever. It's really important. And you'll see that there's a link to the MAP Blueprint program if you want to go there and look at it now. I'm just hopeful that this webinar, which will happen again next month, Lynette will tell you, this will happen again next month, that You can either come again, everyone's welcome, you'll get a note saying I'm doing it again, or you can join us on the Blueprint program. It's relatively inexpensive. I mean, where can you get to speak to someone who does this for a living for 5 hours? Because we do MAAP and then S, which is questions and how to schedule the review. So you have 5 hours with me, minimum. And you have the access to all the recordings of the prior blueprints. So if you want to go back and listen to what I did last month or 4 months ago, you can do that. And if you want to look for the M or the A or the P, you can do that too. My mission here is to make sure that you realize that nobody's going to take care of your pets the way you want them to unless you make a plan. And so that's where we start. Joining the Blueprint program at any stage doesn't really matter because we always cover everything. But I hope to see some of you there. Let me know if you have any questions. Write them in the chat side. If not, I stay to my word, 30 minutes. That's what I'm going to do. And it's 4:01, so we started at 3:30, sorry. And I really just want to thank you all for staying the whole time. If you have any questions, please let me know. If you think this was valuable, please put it in the chat box. If you want to speak with me, I'm not so sure I know how to raise a hand. I don't know. But write in the chat box and I'll unmute you and you can ask your own question. I mean, I'm here. I'd like to let everybody go in like 5 minutes because I hate to not keep to my 30 minutes because this is important information, but I know everybody's got a busy day. So write in the chat box if you want me to carry on or not. And if I don't see something in the next minute or so, I will let you all go with a blessing to you and a blessing to your pets that I'm so grateful you were here. I'm so glad you stayed for the entire presentation and that you go home and navigate that journey. And if you need help, join us in the Blueprint. It's only $267. I mean, over 5 weeks, that's likely less than you'll spend on coffee every day for 6 weeks. And you'll save $24 if you pay in full. Otherwise, it's $97 for 3 payments. I hope to see some of you join us. It's a great group. We are just proactive and take care of our pets. It's really important to us. So since I don't see anything in my chat box, I am so grateful you all were here. I'll let you go. You will be receiving an email from us with the recording so you can listen to this again. Also with the link to the Blueprint program if you want to join us after you think about it. And I look forward to seeing you somewhere soon. Have a great afternoon, and thank you so much for attending.